Trade winds are blowing. FSBN Frankie from Flatbush on a Friday night. We are here on April 17th, 2026, 1800 hours on the East Coast of America, and it's the final Friday before the NFL Draft. We'll be covering the NFL Draft live and in living color. Yes, we will, right here on this channel. And so we'll be doing that. I hope you'll join us on Thursday night. And then that'll be round one. Very exciting round one. Could be a lot of trades. The trade winds are blowing. And then we'll come back Friday night after we see how the first round goes. It's going to be an exciting second round because we might have made some trades, and we might make further trades because we have the first pick of the second round, which is often a pick that is sought after depending on how the board falls in the first round of the draft. So we could have even more trade action for your Jetsies. But the reality of the situation is that we don't know how it's going to go, and we have not gotten very much action or any kind of news from the Jets for some time now. So they've had all their scouting meetings. They've had all the scouts into Jersey. And, they've met with them. They probably have locked in their board. And now the trade winds are blowing because teams are trying to figure out, okay, where can we move? Where can we go? What can we do? Matthias Simon is here. Good to see Matthias. Hopefully more folks will join here shortly. But since the trade winds are blowing, it might behoove us to take a look at what exactly is going on in terms of value, because a lot of people, and let's take a look at it here, a lot of people are talking about these trades now. I don't think the Jets are trading number 2. That does not seem to be in the cards. What they're talking about, though, is this pick 16. And as you can see here, this pick has about 1,000-point total value. So if we wanted to jump all the way up to number 10, say, well, we would have to give the Bengalis at least 300 points or more of value back in order for them to think it might be a good trade, depending on what they would like to do. And so, okay, but can we do that? Because we don't want to trade pick 33. This has 580 points worth of value. But look at pick 44. That has 460, more than enough to get it done. So maybe we trade them 44 and they give us a 4th round pick or something like that to even it out. And there you go. They get pick 16 plus 44. Now they have 1,460 points of value, which is more than 1,300. Now, why would we do that if we're going to give up more value? Well, we may want to have one of these wide receivers very badly. It's pretty much not a secret the way, unless Muji makes some moves before the draft, it's pretty common knowledge that we have a pretty big hole on the roster, and that hole is called wide receiver. And so if a few of the wide receivers we like start coming off, Tate goes to the Browns, Tyson goes to the to the Commanders, something like that, then there starts to be a run, and we start to get worried because the Saints could take a wide receiver, the Chiefs, the Dolphins could take one, the Rams could take one, the Ravens could take one, probably not the Cowboys or Buccaneers. So we might want to jump ahead of all those people, get into number 10, and get one of the ones that we like, and we may not. Um, we may not be, we may not mind giving up a little extra value just to get the one of the ones that we want for wide receiver because we need it so badly. That's one of the downsides to Muji's offseason so far. Generally he has operated in a very smart manner. When we say Muji, we mean the entire front office, including Glenn. And overall, it's been pretty smart, all the decisions that he's made. But the one thing that he hasn't really addressed that's really important is the wide receiver position. And so, again, unless he makes a move beforehand, he may get a little desperate. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if he, made a move like that. That's not totally desperate. It'd be all right to do, especially because if you did that, then what you would want to do is trade that 33rd pick back and pick up some more draft capital that way. So that's really the value there of those picks. So if we're going to talk about any of the trade winds are blowing, that's the kind of thing that we need to discuss if we're going to discuss it intelligently about what makes sense to move where. You got to know what are the values of the picks that you're talking about trading. And I could see the Bengals wanting to move back because they need so much help on defense. Picking up an extra second-round pick may be worth it for them because they might think, well, we'll get a good player at 16 and we'll get another good player at 44, and that's better than what we need. They don't need wide receivers at all. Obviously, they have very good ones already. So they're not in the wide receiver market, really. So why not go back, get some defensive players, and do have a situation where they can pick up more of them via our second round pick. So it kind of makes sense from their point of view and our point of view. All right, let me know if you can hear me okay in the chat. My doc thing says we got like 5 people in here, so maybe people aren't too excited about Friday night film study, but if you are in the chat, let me know if the microphone's working okay. If you can see and hear me okay, we might have to call this one a little bit early if we just have 5 people, which is okay also, because it is a Friday, and no guarantee that people are really all that excited about Film Study Friday, let's be honest. Maybe I'll go back to calling it the Friday Night Hang. You never really know. Metatrends Mark is here. He's a member of the Inner Circle. You could be a member of the Inner Circle as well. $2 a month gets you in. You get lots of extras. Mike works. All right. Well, one of the things that we may want to do, put in the chat. One of the things I wanted to show is kind of like these teams in the NFL, they have systems to keep all the information. They have databases, and we kind of have a representation of that I could show. It wouldn't be exactly like what the teams have, of course, but it'd be close. So put in the chat some prospect from this year's draft that you want to know more information about. Put it in there. JoJo wants film study. Well, there's only 7 people in here, JoJo. Call your friends. Mark says, hey, it's worth it to join the Inner Circle. $2 a month. You get a ton of extras, including sourced information, privileged information. Very few people have it. But the Inner Circle people have it for $2 a month. They get all kinds of stuff. But put in the chat, name a prospect that you want to know more about. That way I can show you kind of like how this would work in a very simple way. The one that teams have would be much more complicated, but you can understand what's going on. But we need a player. Name a prospect you want to know about. Go ahead. Name them. Name them in the chat. Put a name in there. That way we can take a look. Jojo says, I think once we know who we drafted, the film study will be more intriguing. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have college tape. Benadryl? I don't think so, Mark. So let's name okay, Jacob Rodriguez. Here's a real one. Jacob Rodriguez. So let's take a look at this database here. So we want to know about Jacob Rodriguez. So here's the entire big board of players, right? And you can see that they're organized both by position on top, edge, offensive line, cornerback, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and so forth. But they're also sorted by round. So this is the round that they're expected to go in, according to whoever put this together. And of course, every team will have its own board, but it'll be kind of looking something like this. And this is who they have first round grades on. This is who they have second round grades on. This is who they have third, fourth, and so forth and so on. So Jacob Rodriguez is a linebacker. So as you can see, he has all the positions. They have him as a second round pick. So let's say you didn't know anything about Jacob Rodriguez. And so you click and you say, hey, what about this kid? All right. So it goes here, it comes up, there he is. And you get some basic information on him. 6'1 and 3/8, 231 pounds, a little light. Age 23, a little old, on the older side. Top strength, truly rare ability to punch, strip the football away. Superbly aware, quick. Inside linebacker with ability to play. This is misspelled. People in football are not good at spelling. To play Mike Will at next level. Adept at meeting running backs in the hole, but also on time with the play concept. Player comps, Matt Milano. So you get a little player comp here. Then you get some information about his measurables, what they call measurables. So here's his 40-yard dash, pretty fast, 4.55. 10-yard split, 1.53. Vertical, 38.5 inches. There's a second inches on here for some reason. Shuttle 4.19, three cone 6.9, pretty good. He didn't do the bench, so we don't know how strong he is. And then you have what's called a player evaluation. And you have two different people give you their complete evaluation. Coach DC, whoever that is, says a quick, smart, and aggressive inside linebacker Rodriguez finds his way to the football often, be it against a run or pass game. He has surprising awareness in zone drops and the hands to cash in on potential INTs. He had 4 picks in 25. Rodriguez displays perfect run fits, especially when executing a gap exchange, scraping to meet the running back off tackle. He consistently tempos running backs on outside zone, stretch concepts, and shows good block destruction skills. You got to have those block destruction skills, despite a 6'1", 230-pound frame that might be considered small. His projections as a 4th, 5th round player pre-2025 were always too low. Rodriguez can run, tackle, covers well, and spent enough time at will linebacker into the boundary for NFL teams to decide whether he can exist there on third downs or not. And so you see they've got, and then they have another write-up by another scout, Jason Smith, and he gives his scouting report. All right, well, what else do they have? Well, then you want to do some film study. Talking about film study and Film Study Friday. Well, they got a few clips here. Let's see what this kid looks like. Out here. Boom, tackle. All right. You can see Lee Hunter in the middle, and here's David Bailey over here as well, in case you want to look at them. But a nice play by the linebacker there. All right, now he's up here. It's communicating. All right, nice tackle in the hole. Good job. Ball comes out, and they pick and they get it. Nice job. I get it from the field copy, from the end zone copy. He's over here. Does have a thin frame. All right, and then this tells you where it is in the game. Here he is in sort of like mugging, but then goes back. Sheds a block. Nicely done. Now, one of the things about Texas Tech is that they're the best team in the Big 12 by far. So they have the most talent on the field in any game they're playing, especially usually. So he is surrounded by the best talent of the team in the Big 12. Here they're playing Utah, so another good team in the Big 12, but not as good, obviously, as Texas Tech. And here the quarterback just throws it up to him. There's no reason to throw this pass. Rodriguez is 10. Bailey is 31, in case you want to keep an eye on him. Old Spinny McWinney over there gets a pressure. Here's Rodriguez, but he's also Bailey out here. Nicely done. So the nice thing about this system is you have all this information in one place. That wasn't really a great play. He just kind of runs in there. They didn't really block him too good. There he is against a run. Nice play. But you can see he's got, and then that's just one tape. This is 5 minutes of tape, and then this is BYU tape. Yeah. Nicely done. So you definitely you get the idea that he's very instinctive. Kind of is always in the right place, and smart, heady player, along with his physical tools, and always trying to punch the ball out. Even there, he tried to punch it out. Yeah, and you kind of need that. You kind of need that, right? So that's an example of a kind of a database system, and you get to see all the things you want in one place. Now, a team like the Bialis here, he's a member of the Inner Circle. You could join the Inner Circle for $2 a month by clicking the join button. But like the Jacksonville Jaguars, for example, have their own system. It's called Blackwater. But every team will have a system like this. This is sort of like a commercial-facing product. But it gives you an idea of what the teams will have. Right? So Mark wanted to know about Jeremy Bernard, right? So here it is for Jeremy. 6'1" and 1/4, 206 pounds, 22 years old. Exceptionally smooth mover with route polish and ability to adapt mid-play. Reliable hands with field awareness against zone coverage. 4 drops in 230-plus career targets. Good hands. 40-yard dash, 4.48 seconds. Pretty good. 10-yard split, 152. 32.5-inch vertical. 4.31 shuttle. 6.71 3-cone. No bench. We got a couple of player evaluations here. One by Alan Frankel. Extremely sturdy lower body for a player over 6 feet, navigates the field with ease, and is consistently shrugging off or avoiding the first tackler. That's good. Has A-plus body control, consistently upshifting and downshifting to make clean horizontal moves that distorts tackling angles. Was used in the backfield and on some complex run-pass options and was trustworthy with the football. This is a high-integrity, talented player who I expect a team will fall in love with and draft higher than he is currently projected. He isn't a prototypical X because he doesn't have the contested jump ball aspect to his game or a ridiculous 40 time, but he looks like a very valuable second pass catcher who can demoralize a defense and make your quarterback's life easier. Sounds good. Side notes, hasn't fumbled a single time in college despite getting touches that are pretty high fumble risk. Low drop rate, 72nd percentile hand size. So this is a guy, second round. If we keep that 44th pick, maybe he's in the mix there. Jason Smith says Bernard has a pro feel to his game. Foot quickness and contact balance stand out immediately, but he was used in ways to where it takes you longer to appreciate how good of a pro he can be. Alabama liked to manufacture touches for Bernard, put him in motion, conventional and orbit motions. He was peppered with in-breaking routes, ton of digs and over routes. In baseball terms, he hit a lot of doubles and was rarely asked to swing for the fences, so highlight scouts may not fully appreciate his game. Love the way he catches the ball. Hands and feet work independently, does not have to gather to pluck the ball out of the air, couples outstanding hand-eye coordination with an equally effective feel for space over the middle. He also leverages and sets up cornerbacks well in man coverage. There's nothing fancy about his yak. Flashes a stiff arm and his contact balance plays very well, but this is an area in which he could improve. He does usually make the first guy miss. Does a great job setting up his blockers, patiently allowing them to work. Blocking is a strength. You'd love to give him looks in the slot to take on linebackers. Effortless style, not splashy, but posted the fastest 3-cone by a wide receiver at the combine. Testing was more important for him than most because he makes the game look easy and rarely got chances to put it in top gear. Bernard could quickly establish himself as a chain mover, safety blanket, and quarterback's best friend. So then we got 2 game films down here for Mr. Bernard. And you can take a look at Ty Simpson while you're at it. Simpson on the move. Here he is in the slot here. Simpson moving to his left. Pitch and catch. Pretty easy. Makes a guy miss. I think that make a guy miss ability is pretty important. Out route. Perfect throw. Where'd the coverage go? Nobody knows. Good old Florida State. But anyway, here he is at the top. Deep in route. Nice throw. Very well done by both parties. I like this guy as I don't know why this got slowed down, but that 44th pick, if we keep it, this could be a guy right here. You see Simpson with the ball fake, then he's outside the pocket, then he finds his guy. Very pro-level play out of Mr. Simpson here. He was definitely Ty Simpson's favorite. Now, that was an easy one. Favorite target for sure on this team. Ryan Williams was a big disappointment this year for some reason. Here you see a little razzle-dazzle. You could even give it to him in the backfield, and he's shifty. Can take it to the house. Which you like. That's a pro-style play. A little pop pass. Get guys moving one way, then go the other way. Here's a fake to the left. They couldn't hold up in pass pro, so Simpson chucks it about 1 million. Let's go back to this. People say Simpson doesn't have any arm strength. He's at the 40-yard line, 35. He's at the 45-yard line. Moving to his left. Look at Jeremy over here. Jeremy. Old Jeremy's like, hey, I'm open. Throws it about 60 yards in the air. Going to his left. I mean, how do you say this kid doesn't have good arm strength? A little hop and boom, touchdown. Throws it deep, middle of the end zone. Jeez. So anybody who tells you he doesn't have good arm strength, he's not John Elway, but, he has good arm strength. He can throw the ball 60, 70 yards in the air. What more do you want? Jeremy fighting for yards. You like that? Jeremy Bernard was definitely the number one receiver on this team when really Ryan Williams was supposed to be. And Jeremy was just much better. Way more reliable. Not afraid to go over the middle with the big boys. Nice. Look at this play by Simpson. Let's just, because we might pick Simpson too. Well, let's take a look at Ty. Now, you got a ball fake. Now, the offensive line completely falls apart here. Okay, look at this. And Simpson's like, no problem. Just move up a little bit. Boom. It looks easy, but, imagine Zach Wilson in that position. He would have been freaking out, running. He just moves up a little bit. No problem. Flick it out there to Jeremy. Yeah. Sometimes it's the simple things. He had a guy coming down on him. Just moves up a little bit. Boom. Easy. Pitch and catch. And this is against Georgia and against SEC teams, also. Here again, Simpson on the move throws it. Oh, he didn't throw it all the way down there, but still. There's a lot of nice plays, and that's just one film. That was FSU, whatever ULM is, Wisconsin and UGA. So that's, that's pretty good, especially for a second-round pick. If we get, if we get Lemon or Cooper in the first round, and then you get Jeremy in the second round, that's not a bad haul. That's not a bad haul. Bialy, when you play dink and dunk game, first miss is major. Yeah, I think the first miss is major no matter what game you're playing, Bialy, because if you can't make the first guy miss, you're not going to, you're less valuable. That's just the way it is. Bernard reminds me of Katchery. A little bit. I would say Bernard has a little bit more to his game than Katchery because I don't think Katchery would return punts and stuff like that, but I don't think he would ever come out of the backfield. At least I don't remember. So Bernard, you can use him. I love the idea of these type of wide receivers out of the backfield because then you can Uh-oh. We got a warning here. Well, I guess Film Study Friday is going to have to stop. Let me know if you can hear me. It looks like we can't show this video stuff. So I guess where is this? I guess Film Study Friday is going to have to be over. Okay, you guys can still see and hear me. Denzel Boston. All right, well, we can't play the film, but what we could do, well, as I told you, it does nothing to do with Dick Chimney, JoJo, but now I have this problem here. Oh. As I mentioned, Denzel Boston is in the first bucket, right? It doesn't matter what Dick Chimney says. I told you he's in the first bucket. He is. So now what we could do is without looking at the film, YouTube just, in case you guys are wondering, YouTube just gave me a warning. You just can't play film. Then nobody's going to let you play film. So I think Film Study Friday is probably over. It's a good idea by me, but we can't risk getting shut down by YouTube. That's Denzel Boston. Yeah. So this website has Denzel Boston here, as you can see, in the first round. Like I do, he's in the first round bucket. 6'3" and 5/8, weight 212 pounds. Top strength, long fluid target who wins vertically with stride. He has long stride length, posted explosive plays across 2025 film, averaging 14.2 yards per catch and returning 1.78 yards for a score. Tracks the deep ball smoothly and shows hand adjustment skills mid-leap. Then we got, he didn't run a 40-yard dash because he's not the quickest guy in the world. He's basically a big dude that you throw back shoulders to. Jump 37.5, shuttle 3-cone. Jake says, Boston is a physically imposing receiver with good burst and acceleration, but lacks top-end speed and quickness. Fluid route runner that can drop his weight and break off routes. Attacks the stem of his routes, good deceleration on returning routes. He has strong hands and an outstanding catch radius. If there were a football version of Shaqtin' a Fool, what? Oh, he constantly dunks on corners. Not only can he play above the rim, he fights through contact to secure catches, adjusts his body to the ball, and makes ridiculous one-handed grabs. Tracks the ball very well. Short yardage machine, often schemed open in red area and short yardage situations. He uses his frame and strength to box out defenders. Shows off his mental toughness with his willingness to play in traffic. Struggles to separate due to lack of speed. Basically, the only thing this guy doesn't have is speed. If he had speed, he would be top of the first round. Will Rock said Denzel Boston proved to be a boundary specialist whose production thrives on technical discipline and elite ball-winning traits that supersede his raw athletic ability. 2-year starter for Washington, Boston secured all these stats, establishing himself as a dependable possession receiver, proving he can move the chains. His efficiency is anchored by a staggering 112.3 passer rating when targeted, and an elite 89.7 evaluation grade against man coverage, verifying he can punish defenders in isolated matchups despite lacking burner speed. I think this is basically a prototypical X, but does not have the burner speed, so you got to figure out how to use him. So he's definitely in the bucket. So in case we need to be reminded, I did make a slight adjustment to the buckets. Kind of had an interesting thought, which is that for these wide receivers here, and this is based on the Trinity score, but it lines up with all the scouting. I added Zachariah Branch to the first round bucket, or first bucket, really. And so if we get any one of these guys, and you can see Denzel Boston's in here, we're good. So we could move up if it makes sense, or we could just stick and pick and make sure we get one of these guys. Zachariah Branch is the 5th graded guy. I had taken him out and put him into the second bucket because he's small and gadgety, but he could play the slot very well. And if you think about it, if we had Zachariah Branch in the slot, I mean, he's super fast. And that'd be okay because we already have an X in A.D. Mitchell and we have a Z in Garrett. So Zachariah would just play the Y position, the slot, and that's fine. We're not asking him to do all the things an X receiver needs to do. So to me, I don't know. I guess we could move up. It's going to just depend on how they have these guys graded. I would have Tyson out of my evaluation just because I'm worried about that injury history of his. He would be out, but the Jets may be comfortable with his medicals, and then that's fine. But if you see, this bucket is a pretty big bucket. I mean, it's got 7 people in it. You really think 7 wide receivers are going to go in the first 16 picks, especially because the first 2 is actually 14 picks, or actually 13 because one of the picks is ours. But the first 2 picks are not going to be wide receivers. And then so you're just talking about pick 3 through 15. 7 out of those would have to be wide receivers. That would be crazy. So I think we're getting one of these guys. And hopefully turns out to be good. But that's where we are. YouTube too strict. Yeah, YouTube gave me a live stream warning. Can't show the film study. So I guess we'll have to cancel film study for today because YouTube said, no, you can't do it. So we were going to take a look at David Onyemata. So too bad we can't. I'll have to figure something else out for Fridays. And also, there's only 18 people in here, so I guess people weren't too excited about Film Study Friday anyway. So maybe we'll just go back to Friday Night Hang, see what people want to do, and it'll be more loose that way. JoJo says Denzel Boston's father is a hell of a receiver. Who's the father? Let's see. Denzel Boston. Oh, it doesn't say on his Wikipedia page. It doesn't say anything about his father. So I don't know who's his father. JoJo says, is it possible Muji's plan to draft 2 wide receivers? Yeah, it's possible. I don't know what the hell Muji's plan is. I mean, apparently, people who've read my column on Substack would already know this, but I wrote about the fact that Will Parkinson has said Muji is very well aware of what the hole is on the roster with wide receivers. It's not like they think that they're good with that room. They know what they know what the problem is. Question is, what in the world is he doing? And so he's done nothing but smart things all offseason. That's the one thing he's left undone. And the question is why, and we won't know the full answer to that until next weekend. So we'll see. Does he have a trade in his back pocket that he knows he can make it any second? Does he have a free agent that, although there aren't really that many free agents available, that would really make sense? So the only thing is maybe he's got a trade in his back pocket, or he's just going to take 2 out of those first 44. He's going to take a wide receiver in the first round, and he's going to take a wide receiver in the second round. Now, it's not great to pigeonhole yourself to say we're definitely taking a wide receiver, but there are so many of them. Maybe he just knows based on the numbers that he's going to get 2 of the ones that he likes. And that's it. Maybe that's what he's going to do. It's possible. But then you have the problem of their rookies. They may not be as good as you think, especially in the first year and stuff like that. I still think, I don't know, some of these, Darnell Mooney, for example, went to the Giants for $3 million, but he also has $7 million in incentives. So his contract can go from $3 to $10 million, which is crazy. And maybe Muji had a deal where you'd pay him $3 million, but no incentives. And the guy's going to take the deal if he could get incentives, as opposed to not, even if there are a lot of incentives still. But, some of these teams are just, making pretty nutty uh, contract offers to people. Maybe he was trying to get, but we don't know if they were in on Mooney or Kirk or any of these people. So, well, who knows? David Boston? Who's David Boston? I know the rock band Boston. David Boston? David Boston says former American football player, wide receiver in the NFL. He played for Ohio State. Selected by the Cardinals. I have very little remembrance of David Boston. He did grow up, was born in Humble, Texas. That's where Aaron Glenn comes from. Oh, he had a pretty good career. Was an all-pro, Pro Bowler. Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good. Short career, though. Only 1999 to 2005. This guy had a weird career. He had 2 excellent years. He had 1,100 yards in his second year, 1,500, almost 1,600 yards his second year. Then injuries, 512, 880, then 80 yards, and then he's out of the league. And he missed a whole year in 2004. So this does not say anything about being the father of Denzel. But it might be. I don't know. Yeah, very short career. But he did have 2 really good years. So, well, if it is, then he's got. This guy was only 6'1" and a quarter, so if he's his son, he outgrew Dad. First round pick, 8th overall. David Boston, he played for Arizona, then San Diego Chargers, Miami Dolphins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he went to the CFL, Toronto Argonauts. So there you go. David Boston, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's open it up for questions. We can't do the Film Study Friday. YouTube is preventing me. So gave me a warning, not allowed. So we can't do that. Don't want to do that. So let me know if there's anything you guys want to talk about. I had a whole thing prepared for film study of David Onyemata, so we can't do that. Thanks, YouTube. So let me know in the chat if there's anything you guys want to go over. Otherwise, we'll cut it short, and then we'll come back on Sunday for Coffee with Frankie, see if there's any news, and then probably, I don't know, probably not a lot of content from Sunday to Thursday. I would anticipate. Depends, I guess, if the Jets make any news, trades, acquisitions, and whatnot. But basically be preparing and getting ready for the draft to start on Thursday. I think we're all pretty ready for the damn thing to come already. See if the teams are able to swing any trades. There were a few transactions today. One piece of news: the Jacoby Brissett did not attend the start of the team's offseason program. He wants to be paid as a starting quarterback for the Cardinals. A lot of people jump to the assumption, okay, that means they're drafting Ty Simpson. I don't necessarily think so. I just think Jacoby Brissett's going to get more money. They have plenty of cap space, so if he's going to be your starting quarterback, which I would assume he is, and because he's asking for more money, So he must know he's going to be the starter. The other guy they have is Gardner Minshew. Then he needs to get starter money. And so I don't blame him for trying to get a revised contract. And they can do so easily. They got plenty of money. They got plenty of cap space. So now the Cardinals are definitely interested in Ty Simpson along with us and a couple other teams, but doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. Now, Will Anderson did get a huge contract, 3 years, $150 million, not all guaranteed, $134 million. So he's a $40+ million player for all intents and purposes, all the way up to a $50 million player contract negotiated by Nicole Lynn, one of the better agents in the NFL. Also, Breece Hall's agent. So that was going on. And then Jordan Tyson had a workout and all the teams went down there, almost all the teams, so he could show them that he's healthy. And the quote from a source for Pete Thamel was, he showed the twitch, explosiveness, and leaping ability we all saw in the fall. He showed he's healthy and still explosive, which is all he needed to do. So Jordan Tyson had a workout. And then we had a defensive tackle for defensive tackle trade. Ruke Orohoro was traded for Mason Smith. So they're basically the same player. I don't know why this trade was made, but that was done. And I don't know. That's pretty much it as far as news. The news is pretty slow. I think teams are finishing up their prep work and probably laying the groundwork for potential trades next week, but probably a lot of these trades are going to depend on how the board falls. Jojo says, finally it's here. I'm burned out. I think I started mock drafting in October. Yeah, that's the problem. Everybody's pretty much done with this stuff, and I don't think that the general Jet fan is really excited about this season. And so seems to be a general malaise, and that's understandable. Bialy says the money these guys are making is insane. Well, it's not insane. It's market forces. They make it because they're worth it. It's because the things that they can do make the owners of the teams way more. They're totally, totally worth it. I mean, if you could do your job and have millions and millions of people watching you do your job, you'd be worth a lot of money to somebody too. All right. So let me know if there's any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. We'll have to cancel the film study because of YouTube. Sorry, YouTube said no bueno. So that's going to have to be that. Otherwise, we'll call it an evening and see you guys on Sunday.